Rich white women, because you are white. If you are white and have ever accomplished anything in your life, it is not due to your hard work. It is due to the privilege of your white skin. I don't want to just hire 4 white people, you know what I mean? Maybe 2 white and 2 of color, something like that. Dear white people, this is what we want you to do. It's time to acknowledge that the work of anti-racism is white people's work. Hello, thank you for signing up to participate in the White Accountability Group for staff and faculty. Whiteness can be hard for white people to acknowledge, and the self-victimization of white people is extremely harmful for Black people and people of color. It is our responsibility, especially those of us who are white, to do better, to do more. These are just a few of the many things I heard while I was working as a staff member at Smith College.
Are you just a white person, or are you Jodi Shaw?
Well, I used to think I was just Jodi Shaw, and then I started working at Smith, and I started to think of myself more and more as a white person. Hi, it's Jodi. I no longer work in the Department of Residence Life in the Division of Student Affairs at Smith College.
Jodi is a very courageous woman.
It was an agonizing decision. You cannot subject people to trainings where you're telling them that they are bad, or shaming them, rather, because they don't do something you expect them to do based upon their skin color.
Jodi Shaw had the courage.
It was essentially a decision between comfort or freedom. And I chose freedom.
Obviously, she had the courage. She has 2 children. It was her job. She graduated from there.
I chose to fight. On Friday afternoon, I stepped off a cliff.
It's hard to watch an institution say all these things, like Smith has said for years about empowering women and doing this and doing that, and then watch them in action and find out that a lot of it is just talk.
I retained the right to file a legal claim in a U.S. court of law against Smith College, and that's what I intend to do.
Jack and Jill came tumbling down that hill. Yeah, they were flying, they were sinking into sand. And the moment they hit bottom, oh, he let go of her hand. That is something I will never understand.
Who is Jodi Shaw? Well, I'm gonna start. I grew up mostly in New England. My parents moved around a lot. And then I went to Smith College. I was on the swim team, which I loved. I was All-American my sophomore year. I graduated with a degree in anthropology. I started a creative writing program in New Mexico State, and while I was there, I discovered music. Writing to music is just feels so much more immediate and compelling and engaging than just writing on a page. So I dropped out and I moved back east, and I ended up in New York City right before the Twin Towers fell. I lived kind of a very, for lack of a better word, very bohemian life, a very hand to mouth. I worked various day jobs.
All
performed on the subway for many years. It was one of the most spiritual experiences of my life. And they only put $1 in your hat if they like your music. It's very honest. So I had children, and I had twins, surprise. I got married, I moved to a very different part of Brooklyn, and then when I was getting divorced, I talked to my ex about moving back to Northampton. But let's move back to Northampton. We're getting divorced. We can't afford to live in the same neighborhood in New York City. When I was a student at Smith College, I remember Northampton just being this like magical place, super liberal. I was a card-carrying member of the Socialist Party in my early 20s. And I was hired as an engagement librarian for my ability to creatively engage and draw in students and get them to use the library more. I arrived with a whole lifetime, a whole history, and I was not in the habit of making assumptions about people. And when I arrived to Smith College, I found that that's exactly what they wanted me to do. This is the role you're supposed to play as a white person, and this is the role that other people are going to play that are not white people, and this is how you're supposed to interact, and this is what you're supposed to say and do. It didn't feel right, it didn't ring true to me, but I thought, I doubted myself. I did go along with it. Then this happened.
A woman from New York City says she was racially profiled while eating her lunch.
An employee calling police on a black student because she seemed, quote, out of place.
Amu Kanute is a rising sophomore at Smith College. She was reading in the dining hall of the Tyler House dorm.
The man asked me, we were wondering why you're here. I don't even feel safe. I'm doing this not only for me, but for my family, for my ancestors.
What do you want to happen now?
I want the identity of the caller released. I want a public apology from that caller, and I want them fired.
Sorry, I actually sent an email to a black colleague who had left the college saying, isn't this terrible? And I didn't know any of the facts. I just took the college's word for it. And then a month later, what happened to me was I was a temporary librarian, and I had been tasked with creating a highly memorable and engaging orientation for incoming first-year students to the college. This was the last day of orientations. The person who gave me the venue said, in reality, most students by then are exhausted and they don't want to go to any more orientations. But if you do something wild and crazy, I promise you I will get the students in there. And I thought, well, it's obvious. I'll do a rap. Naturally, I saw this as my opportunity to really shine. I was actually up for a permanent job, which would have meant a lot of security for my family. A week before I was supposed to do this performance and this orientation for 600 students, and you can imagine all the work that goes into something like that, my supervisor came into my office and he said, given the incidents of July 31st, 2018, you can't do the rap. And I was like, well, why? What do you mean? And he said, because you're white. I started to connect the dots with this July 31st, 2018 incident. What I saw after that incident was the college immediately jumping to the conclusion that this had been a racial incident. So what actually happened, here's the rest of the story, is that this took place during the summer, which is a time when obviously normal academic classes are not in session.
Smith College has summer programs all summer long, and they're housed in the dormitories. And that house is Tyler House, and they were expecting an influx of very young dance students.
Staff who were working in that particular dining hall, because they were working around kids, all had to have background checks.
Umu was supposed to be eating at Lamont House, which was across campus. And I understand why she didn't, because it was more convenient where she was at the time to go into Tyler dining room. So we were always told, when you're working in the dorms, if you see something, say something. And if it's a stranger, Don't approach the stranger. Call campus police because, they can come up and figure it out.
Jackie Blair happened to be working in that dining hall at the time and said something. Oh, I didn't know you were in this program. And the student said, just flashed her student ID. And Jackie's just like, okay, fine, whatever. and allowed the student to stay. And in walks a custodian. And the custodian's glancing around because his job is to close up the house for the day.
I knew this guy. I'd worked with him for 30 years, and he's the most innocuous, nicest guy.
What he sees through these double doors, obscured by a giant teddy bear, is a pair of legs on the couch. So the custodian called campus police, who are unarmed.
Hi.
How you doing?
Good, how are
We
you?
were wondering why you were here.
Oh, I was eating lunch. I'm working the summer program, so I was just relaxing on my
Oh,
couch.
you just took a break?
Yeah.
So you're with one of the summer programs?
Yeah, I'm actually a TA. Okay.
So that's what it was.
Alright.
He just had to keep from the doorway. He didn't know what it was.
Yeah.
Once it's over, once it's probably.
Yeah, it's okay. It's just like kind of stuff like this happens way too often where people just feel like threatened.
He allowed her to stay. He's like, no problem, everything's cool, and he left. And then the student posted it that evening to her Facebook page. The Facebook post went viral.
The administration, President McCartney, they immediately assumed guilt on the employee's part, which meant that they let a 19-year-old student wreak havoc. To me, that meant that union staff were valueless, that they were disposable.
Kathy McCartney came in as the free speech president. She was going to come in and champion free speech. Very shortly after that, there was an incident where somebody was talking about Black Lives Matter, and Kathy got up and said, all lives matter. Very innocently said this, and she got lambasted for this. She was like, I'm very sorry. We need to talk about systemic racism.
There's a level of cowardice involved. She was terrified of being called a racist. President McCartney has been making, $600,000 or something a year, living in a mansion that's paid for. She probably spent $3 million having the house redone inside to her specifications and the gardens redone. I don't think she has a good moral compass. I don't think she gives a shit except about herself. And the first time I met her, the first thing I thought of was the word avaricious. And I think I was right.
3 weeks later, the student was determined to find out who had called campus police on her. And so she went through the staff directory and found 2 individuals and posted them to her Facebook page and said, these are the 2 people who called campus police on me. And that Facebook post went viral.
I'm the infamous employee who was not on campus during this incident of July, I believe 31st, 2018. I was at home here having lunch when the incident happened. So it's amazing how much trouble I got in. It was a normal day, like any other, getting ready for school opening. And I got paged, and it was the director of our department at the time, but Diane Benoit. We sat down. She told me that I was put out there as the racist who called the police on the student. Oh, okay. Because I knew it wasn't me. After that, a few of my coworkers came in and joking around with me saying, what did you do? What did you do? The union president had printouts of her Facebook page with my picture, Jackie Blair's picture, calling us racist. I knew then things were serious.
I have an impression that if you work as a custodian or a dining room assistant or you're in a union and you're actually wearing a blue uniform, somehow that means that you are uneducated and lower class, and therefore you're more apt to be racist.
By the time I got home, my anxiety was off the charts. I have a family, I have a house, I have a mortgage, and I was making $40,000 a year. The stress on my wife was unreal. The stress on our relationship was unreal. There was some bad times. We were the fall guys. We're expendable. Human resources, if they post a job, they'll have 300 applications the next day. People out there, they're dying to get into the college to work. They know that. So what I have to say, or if whatever, I'm expendable. Northampton that I grew up in was generational. People definitely put people first. My father was in politics, local politics, and it was all about your neighbor. He went into it with wanting to help people, and you were able actually to help people. And unfortunately, through the years, it changed. I always thought I would call it home. I don't anymore, and I don't believe I ever will because of what happened at Smith College.
The college never came out and publicly apologized to these staff members. We're sorry that we continued to push this as a racial incident when it wasn't, and we're sorry that you were collateral in that.
The person who made these accusations, that she understands what she said, her words did this. Her not thinking about her words did this. And there was just nothing from Smith, nothing. That's why it goes back to what I said earlier, you're just a number. You're just a number.
July 31st, 2018. It changed the campus. One now has in the back of their mind, if I mess this up, or if I say the wrong thing, or if I just happen to be in the wrong place at the wrong time, what I saw happen to those people can happen to me. Because it's not real power, it's a fear power. And once a student sees that an entire college administration will turn cartwheels to appease them, do you think they're gonna stop?
Jodi was being asked to do things she was uncomfortable with at work. They had some kind of a retreat explaining white privilege and how that affects you and the way you treat other people.
You know what you need? What are these?
White privilege glasses. Helps you see the world the way we do.
I was up for a permanent position, so I was like, oh, I don't want to say anything. Like, if I say so, I should report this, but maybe I shouldn't. Maybe it means I'm racist, and if I do, I won't get a job. And so my solution to that was simply to exit the situation. And I thought, if I leave the academic part of Smith and go to the non-academic, the residence life, that surely all of this talk about race and white privilege and all that stuff, like, surely I will go below the radar. But I was wrong. I was told in the Res Life department that I had to consider color in dealing with students and colleagues. But nobody ever told me what that meant. What does that mean to consider color? Part of my job was helping students get room changes based on room accommodations based on a disability. So this student had service dog in training. She's a white student, and there was a black student who lived in the room near her who said that the dog was making a lot of noise and bothering her. I didn't know the skin colors of the students at first. The student with the service dog, she'd done all this interpersonal conflict resolution and these attempts at resolving it. She had all this documentation about all these things she had done with the dog. I'd received no information from the other student. And then I received something from another student in the house who sent a video of the student who was arguing about the dog banging on the floor, even when the dog was not present. I talked with one of my supervisors, and the suggestion was, let's offer a room change to the student who has a problem with the noise. Seems simple, right? Then the skin colors were determined. We found out what the skin colors were, and then there was a complete switch. Like, uh-oh, no, let's not do that. Let's offer the room change to the student with the dog. It felt so wrong because here's Smith talking about, anti-racism and all these fighting systemic racism, and they were asking me to participate in behavior that was literally racist. I was looking at two people's skin color, and you're supposed to take X action based on, because this person's white and this person's black. And it really bothered me that I just didn't want to be any part of this. And when I saw the police officer who had responded to the call, when I saw him get terminated for a unrelated incident, I saw a newly hired police chief parted from the college. The college stated it was amicable. But after seeing what happened, where the students posted his Twitter feed everywhere on campus, and I also accused him of being racist, and then suddenly he was just gone, I started seeing things. I saw demands posted on my office door. We will come to every office and every person if necessary to make you feel our pain. Now that, I think some people would just look at that and say, it's just students, like what are they really gonna do? But against this backdrop where we have already seen what happens when a student makes an allegation, even if unfounded, where you are literally guilty until proven innocent, and even still guilty after that. I'm going to take them seriously, because I've learned that the college does not stand behind its staff. I finally filed my complaint. It took me hours and hours and hours to complete this. It took me months, and I finally submitted it, and then George Floyd died. And the college went into uber hyperdrive after that. And then I'm told any refusal or discomfort in discussing my race as a white person at work is a, quote, power play. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my God, what do I do? Do I sit there and say nothing after I filed this complaint and made clear, and now my silence is even more, interpreted even more as an act of aggression or hostility?
They make you feel like you're going crazy, because they make you feel like you have to conform to their philosophies and their narratives, and if you don't, then there's something wrong with you. When actually, a lot of the employees, there's nothing wrong with them except they're in terror of losing their jobs. So how the hell can so many smart people be so stupid?
I filed an 80-page complaint, and the college conducted what was, in my opinion, a highly disingenuous investigation and issued a 3-page response saying that my allegations are unfounded. So Umu filed made a Facebook post, and the college responded with a 70-plus page investigation. So I sent out a few Hail Mary emails, and when those were not responded to, I decided to make the first video. I'm white, and that really shouldn't be relevant, but my employer has made it clear over and over and over again not only is it relevant, but it's possibly one of the most important, or if not the most important feature of me as a human. Am I at peace with my decision to speak out, is what you're asking. Yes. There are things I probably would have done differently, of course, looking back. I did not feel I had a choice. I did feel like if I continued to not speak out and along that path, that the psychic pain of doing so would be greater than the cost of speaking out. The cost of, there has been a cost to speaking out, but my reward is that I'm now in contact with hundreds of people who feel the same way. And certainly the lawsuit, that's very important. Because if nobody challenges this in court, then it kind of becomes acceptable. So I'm hoping my case is successful, or one of the other cases that are coming up will be successful and set a precedent. You can't expect a material reward when you're undergoing a spiritual quest. When you undergo a spiritual quest, the rewards are not going to be material. And so there is a lot of material fallout, but in the end, what's inside is what's most precious to me. And that's what I'm seeking to preserve, my integrity and my morals. And those things are far more valuable than any material fallout I could suffer.
I'm sorry because this, I believe the individual, Miss Canute, doesn't understand what she did. I'm sorry that the college doesn't understand what their training's doing or what their policies are doing. And I really wish they would stand up for the people that work for them, because those first days of class wouldn't happen without us. Those special events wouldn't happen without us. Those cold winter mornings, 4 a.m. with a shovel in your hand, so they could all get to their office or get to class during a snowstorm. That was us, nobody else. So they need to have a little more compassion and a little less politically correct. I pray for Jodi, Tracy, Jackie, and the others. I know I'll be okay. I have the best support system here. But it hasn't been easy. I want President McCartney to see this, because I want her to know we are human.